okay, let's test this great advice I got. Dream big enough, people are laughing at you, then you know it's big enough. And then just follow.
Where did you get that courage?
We have so much humbleness in our Finnish culture, so sometimes we think that the results itself are talking on behalf. But I can guarantee they are not. So you need to also say it out and loud and to many people.
Okay, and we're back for another episode of the FLT podcast. Today we are joined by Mervi Airaksinen. Mervi, how are you?
Very good. Good to be here.
Good. Welcome. When we started the podcast, we obviously wanted to take leadership examples from many different industries and perspectives. One of the perspectives we really needed to get a hold of was a prominent Finn that was working in a global corporation that had, let's say, a culture slightly different to the traditional Finnish ones, to give us a good contextualized experience of what it's like to be a Finnish leader in perhaps a culture that's not so common here. So we are delighted to have you here, Mervi. As always, we've prepared a brief introduction. Anneli, would you do the honors?
Yes, absolutely. A native of Jäppilä in Etelä-Savo, which is in eastern Finland, north, you are currently the managing director of Microsoft Finland. You are an economics graduate from Jyväskylä University and have also studied business and finance in University of Lappeenranta and Maastricht. You are also currently a sitting board member on Vincit, the University of Vaasa, Huoltovarmuuskeskus, having previously served on multiple boards in chair and audit roles. Prior to Microsoft, you have served as managing director in Finland and Baltics for both IBM and Cisco. You were featured in the book Uraäidin selviytymisopas, a career mom's survival guide, where you discuss the jigsaw of balancing act of career responsibilities with family time and the reality of planning to reduce a third of the workforce at Also, Finland, where you were in charge while on parental leave. At Also, you rose through the company to become managing director and led the company through a difficult transformation of both the operating model and the culture. You are a firm believer in ecosystem thinking, the significance of AI, and a vocal supporter of Windows 95 Man. You were a volunteer cyclist for 2 seasons with Team Rinkeby, raising €1 million per season for children with critical illnesses. You began your Microsoft journey with the promise it will be anything but ordinary. Is this a fair description of you? And when was the last time you felt ordinary?
Loving it. It's thank you for the introduction. Yes, it's a fair description of my history. And a very good question about when did I feel like ordinary? I think it's a great question, actually. And I need to say that I love anything but ordinary. But the fact is that in reality, there is a lot of ordinary moments in a day. I can refer to yesterday. We were skiing with my family and my sister's family at Talma. And when you are just queuing for the coffee, what a lovely ordinary moment. But on the other hand, a special moment. We were celebrating my sister's son's birthday. So in that sense, it was a great time to spend time together. So something extraordinary in that ordinary moment, just queuing for a cup of coffee. So I think it's more about the mindset rather than what is actually happening in the daily lives.
In that ordinary moment, were you thinking, there must be an app for this?
Yeah, exactly. I could just sit on my table and not just queue here, but yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I have a very pressing question. So in the description it said that during your time at Also, so there was a 1/3 reduction in the workforce, and you did that while you were on maternity leave. Do you think the result would be different if you were not on maternity leave?
Let me go through the timeline. So first of all, I was elected, it was September 2012, as a managing director for the Also. And the company was going through already by that time a difficult time. It looks like it will be many million of losses in that particular year. And it was looking like you are not able to generate a growth that could handle that amount of losses, so that you need to reduce the cost base. Only 4 months after that, I got my son. He was born a few months in advance. So it was, when life just happens that all the things, good and bad, come at the same time. The thing is that. But nevertheless, so all this happens at the same time. Before I went to the maternity leave, I already knew that the reality looks like this. So I knew that when I come back, there are very tough decisions that need to be taken or basically to be executed. So I think that was the situation. But then I got this 3 months period with my son. I was completely in a different world. And then I returned back to the work. And I started with a very rough path in the beginning when I came back after the maternity leave.
So the changes started to happen once you came back?
Yeah, but the fact is that the reality for that company at that time was such that whether I was on a maternity leave or not, that was the decision to be made. I think that's the thing. So
the cost base had to be changed.
Exactly, that was the thing. So there was a permanent loss of the revenue happening year before, and then it just needed to be adjusted.
Without going into too many details, was the maternity leave like a complete break, or were you on planning calls and discussions through?
I had my regular calls with one person who was in charge. So we agreed that no other contacts other than this one person who was then working on the things that need to be executed later on.
Okay.
So a trusted person with whom we had regular calls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was, yeah.
What a start
How
of a job.
It's a start to a job.
But it's good. I after there is now a distance. It was a tough time at that time, but of course it was a kind of amazing university of leadership. I need to say that 5-year path with that company, and I'm extremely proud. Even though it started rough, where we landed, we changed the business models into more recurring businesses. We changed the cost base not only by reducing the workforce in the beginning, but then also investing into the new logistics center, which is critical on that businesses. We purchased several new different companies to make sure that we can get more into a value-added business. So, and we got noticed in this great place to work competition that is in the country. So in the end, it landed, or I'm proud of the results. But the path itself was rough. 5 years altogether. But in the end, we grow 100 million additional top line and got this recognition from the great place to work. So I take that as in the end, everything was okay.
It worked out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I have two thoughts. So the first one is like on a really practical level. I know what it's like, not at this level, not at your level, but I know what it's like to hang up the phone on a work call and then turn around back to your family and finish cooking or finish, playing with the kids. And in your head, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that person is going to do that. And this is going to happen and this is going to happen. How was it easy for you to put that, let's say, professional barrier between that one call with your one trusted person and the family time? Because I haven't found a way to manage that yet.
Yeah, but to be frank, in that time, because my son was born 2 months before the due date, so we were 5 weeks in the hospital day and night. So it was very easy because he was so fragile in that point. So in the beginning, it was very easy. I think nowadays it's more difficult because my son is a happy camper who doesn't need me anymore that much. He's 11 already nowadays. So so there is not that much need nowadays, him having me there. But at that time, those first months, can I say it was still, because
like
it was the question of a life and a death for him. So
that must...
If I put it like dramatic, yes, but this is it.
Yeah. So it was, but pressure in both sides, like in the family life and the home life.
So when you started this to implement these changes right after you came back to the company, how certain were you that it's going to work? I mean, what kind of feelings? What was the kind of level of confidence that things will work the way you planned them? And when you got this feeling that things actually are working?
I love the question. And I'm thinking like, what do I remember from the year 2013? Not that much. And I think what I have learned along the way that usually there is for a leader, there is a big elephant you need to break into pieces. And you just start to execute one by one and believe that this is the right thing to do for now. Let's check the others later again, evaluate, but let's do one step at a time. So when we started to execute that transformation, that in the end looked like, intentionally buying new companies, intentionally building new logistics centers, it was not like that in the beginning. It was just first task was to make it the business sustainable, like walk with its own feet, make it sure that the money that is coming in, you can pay your bills. So that was the first thing to do. Then when we were able to do that within a 1 year time, make the turnaround, then we were saying to the owners in the Switzerland that, hey, actually we need 20 million more to invest in here because we would have a great business case of actually building new logistics center. Then we went more like, okay, now we need 10 million more. We found a new company we should buy in. And you can see this business case will start to benefit us and the whole group very soon. So we started to learn along the way that actually this is how it works. And the beautiful thing is, because we were so in a deep trouble, we get all the attention. We were able to turn it around within a year. We still were left with all the connections. So that's why we were able to come back for more money and investments. Because for once, we were on the spotlight. Difficult thing, we fix it, build certain level of trust, and then we could utilize those amazing connections to all the way to the board to come up with the next ideas. So in that sense, in the end, it all played out quite well. But the first years were rough.
Did you know that the owners have your back, the Swiss?
No, absolutely no. They I've never exactly. You need to because they are investors. So the essence is that you turn it around, and you can then get the next job to be done. So I think this is it. But first, you need to show that you are able to make it to the profits. That was the clear assignment, and that needed to be done first.
Did you have a good leadership team to walk with you through this transformation?
Absolutely. You need a good leadership team to work through these kind of changes. And I think this is one of the key learnings, that you need to have a diverse team, because the essence is when you are doing these big decisions, investing on something new, is it building some logistics centers or acquiring new companies, it's great that you have different opinions, people who come with a different background, different thinking, some more energetic, some more analytical, some understand the industry better, someone knows the clients, so that together we can actually make decisions. Because you make these one decisions, you get the trust, you get the investment monies, you execute on it. If you are not right, it's not a very good thing. So it would be good to kind of make sure that you do good decisions, good investments, and then you get more. And that's why in order to make those great decisions, you need diverse team to bring their opinions so that you can evaluate if you're doing the right thing or not.
Right.
And that's why the team is the core for success.
Did you also have a Finnish board, or was the board only in Switzerland?
Board only in Switzerland.
Okay.
Or it was multinational board that was gathered by the owner company.
You mentioned that at the time when you became, after the transition, one of the best places to work, like the culture. We talked about the culture transformation. How did you do that? I mean, so you're acquiring businesses, you're making a loss, you're making reductions and redundancy plans, and all these are things that each of them by themselves would kill any kind of culture program. How did you manage to?
But I think the essence is it was a journey, and we started with the very low level. So already in the I remember after the reductions and when we launched that we will be part of this great place to work, and people were laughing like, okay, go ahead, do it, and we will get poor results. But we said, yeah, we know. but this is a commitment for the employees that we will get better. We will get better, and it's a journey. So kind of bold statement without no confidence if we are able to do it, but nevertheless, bold statement and being brave to say that this is important. This cannot be like this. We needed to do the reductions in order to survive. Next thing, we will make sure that we put effort to fix these things. And it was a journey, and we need, at that time, clear vision where to go, good team at the highest level to make sure to sow the trust. Because when there is a trust beneath the leadership team, then the trust follows to the whole organization. If there is no trust in the leadership team, it will eat out the trust from the organization. So it all starts that the leadership team is working as a team for one direction, and then communicating openly where we are going, and also the things that, okay, there we are succeeding, and this is not working as we thought. And also bringing external people to share our story and how is it working with us. So a lot of these things, journey, but and very openly. Also getting those bad results first on the table and saying that, yes, we know this is the reality, but together we can fix it.
Yeah. So so it's facing up the kissa pöydälle, which is the Finnish way to say put the cat on the table.
Yes.
And say, okay, we'll just keep watching, and
Exactly.
we'll see how we go. That's
Exactly. And I used to have this mentor, or it was a actually paid consultant who told me that, Mervi, remember, dream big enough so that everybody, and then he said, I was asking like, when do I know big enough? He was telling me that, hey, when people laughing at you, then it's big enough. So exactly, this was like the great place to work. Like I'm saying first that we will go here, we will be one day. People were saying that, but then okay, let's test this great advice I got.
yeah.
Dream big enough, people are laughing at you, then you know it's big enough. And then just follow. Yeah, it's a great advice, I need to say.
That is, it is.
It works, usually.
Would you class that as your philosophy on leadership? To dream big enough?
Dream big enough.
That everyone's dream big enough, that everybody laughs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you need to have that. But of course, then you cannot change it then. You establish it in your era. You need to have that dream and then just execute toward it. I think this is it. So you cannot change it or do things like this afterwards. You keep it and then you set the path towards it. And then together as a team, when we accomplish it, it's a kind of experience that changes you as a leadership team completely. When you have actually, then you start to think, remember 3 years ago when we said this and everybody was laughing.
Yeah.
And then we are there.
How do you set the path? I was just thinking that because when everything is broken and then you start setting the path, there's so many things you need to fix. How do you make a realistic path towards your goals? Or because you don't want to communicate necessarily that, okay, there are all these goals we didn't reach. And there are all these promises we made, but we didn't keep them.
But in that case, for example, that was the most burning platform. So people wanted to see the change, and there has to be something that people could hold on to, because we could already do positive results, but it's not comforting because we were like 30% less people. All the good friends. I was one of those. I used to work there, how many years? 9 years before I came to the managing director.
Right.
So in that sense, you need to start from the point that you see it's the most burning platform and be inspiring, something that people would like to see.
Yeah.
So do you laugh a lot with your management team?
Yes.
So because, well, when you're so ambitious that everybody laughs at you, then usually those who are supposed to implement those laughable goals and objectives, they start to cry, right?
Yeah, exactly. Love it. But the thing is that another leadership philosophy point here is that you can not just set the crazy goal and tell to people that, hey, go there, I will watch here. No, you are the front runner. So you need to communicate to all the partners, all the clients, to the employees that it's kind of my face. I will tell that we will make this happen. And then other ones can be inspired. And usually you need to be concrete, get few wins here and there to make it concrete. But it's not fair that you come up with something crazy and ask others to execute on it. It's important you come up with something that you truly believe first yourself, and then you are willing to be the forerunner there and also lead by example.
Where did you get that courage?
I think, very good question. And I think being able to survive the year 2013 has given me this, and it was a great experience, the first managing director position overall. 5 years with all its ups and downs was a great, as I mentioned, university of leadership for me.
Did you have the courage when you stepped into the role, or did you build it like through the role?
Through the role, because I can share you a secret that I refused from the role first when they were proposing it to me. I told them, no way, I cannot. It's too difficult and I'm too not capable of doing it. Then they continued. They invited me to Switzerland and continued selling. They are great sellers. So I said, okay, will do.
Yeah, that's wow.
I will do. And the second point, I took it. Then a few weeks go by and I realized I'm pregnant. I go back to the board, chairman of the board, and hey, I'm pregnant. Do you still want me to take this job? And then they still, so I gave them a chance to withdraw from it, but then they didn't want to. They said that we will do it.
Wow.
So it was a lot of this kind of discussions in the beginning.
Back and forth.
Exactly. But in the end, great journey.
Yeah.
Well, maybe a question. So what do you see as your kind of strength as a leader, and maybe what are some kind of areas for improvement?
Strength, I think setting up those crazy goals is my strength, and inspiring people to go into that direction. But of course, sometimes I'm too inspired and energetic, so also important to listen and sit back and give room to the others. So how you find you need to be the forerunner, but when you see people are taking those roles, then just remember to sit back and let the others shine. So I think this is also important. So I'm always like too enthusiastic on everything new. Yes, cannot help myself.
Yeah. You have been the managing director of IBM and Cisco, as well as now Microsoft, all US-based companies.
Yeah.
What's the difference? You had this Finnish-Swiss experience. You are Finn yourself, and now in all those US-based companies.
I think maybe talking on these US-based companies, I think in a way these are, how can I say it? These companies require individuals to be very intentional how they bring themselves up, how they want to develop their careers, what they want next. I have this lovely story. I remember always joining these tech companies. I'm sure that within the first month, someone is asking from me, like, what is your next role in this company? I'm like, I'm just starting, but that's telling the culture of the US tech companies. So it's very kind of, you need to be self-driven. You need to be learning new skills all the time. You need to be able to tell the story about yourself too. So I think it's a kind of very intentional career building culture that these US tech companies are having.
So no drifting.
No drifting.
You seem to have excelled in that type of culture and environment. Do you think most Finns and Finnish leaders, with the way they prepare for professional life, do you think they would naturally do well in that kind of culture?
I think we have so much humbleness in our kind of Finnish culture. So sometimes we think that the results itself are talking on behalf. But I can guarantee they are not. So you need to also say it out and loud and to many people, because I think this is important. And there are so many great things happening in Finland. There are amazing leaders. There are amazing accomplishments. We are leading on the era of AI, on the era of sustainability. We are building 5G, 6G, all the networks here. We have chip development. We have quantum computers. We have so much. I'm now coming from a very techie point, but still, there is so much greatness. So how do we make sure that we are heard? So I think we can still do more. We are a small country, only 5.5 million inhabitants. So that's why it's even more important that all of us are telling these great messages, not only the politicians or a handful of business leaders, but actually how all of us can be an ambassador for Finland.
Yeah, I think that's actually, it's one of the things that I'm not sure everybody is yet caught up with, that with regards to the decision to join NATO. So joining NATO is going to bring a kind of a fundamental change to the ethos of Finland entirely. It's not where there's no longer going to be like a hidden strategy or like a delicate political game. We've said, okay, this is the team we're on, and we're at the front line.
Exactly.
And if Finns don't develop that sense of storytelling, of working on the brand and using their expertise, we will lose out to other countries.
And the thing is that there is so much greatness, and how we humble people could think about that, how we could expand all the knowledge that we are having, especially in the tech era, to the other, like to drive our businesses. For example, did you know that overall in the European Union, around 4% of the people are working in ICT? But in Finland, it's 7% of the population. So we are very tech intense. All these results I mentioned, all the cool modern technologies are developed here for a reason. But sometimes it's good to hide your secrets and the advantages. But sometimes I'm thinking that we could be a multiplier to this world, telling all these capabilities that we are actually having. And they are world class. I need to say that we are investing as a Microsoft here, the data center regions. And I need to always tell to our US friends how good how ready we are for the green transition, because we want all the data centers to run with the clean energy. So we have an amazing availability now and the pipeline for the future. So this is the place to be if you want to truly run the data centers with the clean energy. You cannot go elsewhere in the world. So that's why we are you need to bring these things up. I think this is important.
And I think as well, I know a lot of American and British and foreign people here that are working, and they often struggle working with Finnish leaders. And what I've said to them is that, underneath like the communication style and the interpersonal behavior, you've got a lot of good there are high levels of reliability, usually a high level of competence, usually a relatively open and honest approach to work. So if there is a problem, you'll be able to discuss it and bring it out into the open, which is not always the case in other cultures. So actually working with leaders here or moving into leadership roles here, it has a good long-term benefit, but that short-term bit is really frustrating, because for those who want to make business here or who want to start becoming a leader here, it's difficult to get into the correct way of speaking to get into the club of leaders, because Finns are quite protective, I think, of leadership roles in the country.
Yeah, but I hope because I do believe on the very diverse teams, and because of these tech companies have very international environment where to be. It's the amazing pool of talents and ideas I can tap into every day when I talk with my Italian colleagues. They are very creative minds. So there is a lot of learn and so on. So I hope that in order to kind of grow our businesses here in Finland and the companies, I hope that the boards and the leadership teams will be more diverse with the international talents too. Because otherwise this goodness that we are doing here in Finland is not expanding to the world. And I'm saying that we have some brilliant capabilities here. And as said, we are, for example, doing the data center investments. We are competing with several different locations, but we are winning the battle because we have amazing grid, amazing energy sources and so on, talented people, a lot of land, no earthquakes, a lot of these kind of things that you don't even realize until you go into those discussions and recognize, okay, cool. We are ticking all the boxes. Best place on planet to do these things.
The geopolitics is not a threat to the data centers.
Yeah, this is a great question. And the fact is that, yes, we have this 1,300 kilometer border with Russia, but I have started to realize that when you look at the world and the Europe from the US, actually it looks like there is a Nordic, is it Stockholm and Espoo? They are quite close to each other. So whole the Nordic region is considered as one very advanced high-tech region.
Right.
And there is no discussion about the border itself.
Okay.
Yes. And that has been, that was my first assumption. This is what we do in Finland.
Yeah.
We assume,
What's the reason? Yeah.
but the important is to enter the discussions. Then you realize that actually the benefits outperform all these things that you might think that wouldn't be hindering us from getting the investment, but actually no.
Okay.
Are you trying to better understand Finnish leaders? You're in the right place. You're listening to the FLT podcast.
Yeah, well, I have a question actually. So in my previous life, I used to study computer science. And I recall that in our class of 40 students, there was only one female. She was extremely popular. But I mean, now you are leading at tech companies here in Finland. So do you find it any challenges there leading Finnish engineers?
Very good question. And to be frank, if I look at this question, if you would have asked me 20 years ago when I entered the industry, I could see a lot of these things, It was very demanding in a way to prove that you have a seat on the table. But nowadays, not anymore that much, but I still know that I was reading some study last week, and 21% of the ICT industry in Finland is, if you look at females, and then the rest is males. So it's still very male-driven industry. Mm-hmm. But I'm seeing the change. And for example, these US tech companies are very strict on driving diverse agenda, especially on the name of the gender. Mm-hmm. And for example, for us at Microsoft, we have over 60% of our leadership team, senior leadership team members are women. And in the manager level, 46% is females. And overall, as a company, 34 globally for Microsoft. So just to give the view that we are moving, but there's still room to go. And I think there are these lovely EU legislations now coming, saying that the 40% of the board positions should be with females in the year 26. So I look forward that we are able to fulfill this. There are amazing female talents in all the industries, and hopefully this will help them then now find new leading positions.
One thing that I noticed when working with Nokia in the as a DEI head, 28% of all tech graduates in the world are women. However, I think the tech companies struggle with looking beyond the tech graduates. So I think there are many jobs which, even in engineering, you can do when you are a lawyer or when you are an open-minded, sociologist. And you can still progress in ICT as well. But I think that is where I saw a big gap, was that the hiring managers still think it needs to be an engineer who can take this business forward.
And this is a great segue, because I think, especially in the era of AI, when the digitalization is truly on everyone's table. So it's not anymore IT who is doing it, but actually AI is impacting how communications people are doing their work, or HR is doing their work, or marketing, or customer service, or I can go on and on. This is the beautiful thing, that we are seeing that it's actually great balance to have technical people and then certain industry expertise. So we have recruited nurses, financial sector experts, people from different industries, because when we combine these two, we actually have the industry problems, like in healthcare, and then we have a technology person who is able to solve it. And when we put these together, the magic happens. So I think this is the direction where we as a company are moving. And I love it.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
And it's a great dimension of diversity, which we don't necessarily always tap into or think of.
And I think also that's why this is important also to talk about this out and loud, because people might don't know that actually you can join this industry coming with the teacher or nurse or different background from a financial sector. So you are still mostly welcome here. And I think we need to lower the barrier of entry here, because this is not a rocket science. There is a problem with the client that we should fix with the technology. Simple.
And we've tried and tested how it works if you've got teams of just engineers and they do good competence development work, but they don't always understand the customer problem, and they don't translate solutions always into reality. So you need those, we talk about the magic happening, a lot of that is just time, because it's your engineers being exposed to, hey, this isn't going to work. If you keep building this product this way or this solution this way, it won't work. And so you bring in the external perspective, and in the design phase already, you get to evolve and develop and adapt at a far faster clip.
Exactly.
Well, coming from IB background, so researching a bit of international business stuff. So there's all these theories basically that discuss how multinational corporations work, and I've done work with Finnish multinationals as well, and like Finnish units in global multinationals. So a lot of Finnish managers on this kind of corporations feel that they come from a small place. They have this kind of like a small country, small place mentality. They don't think big enough and so on. So in your experience working for IBM, Cisco, and now Microsoft, and representing Finnish unit, right? So how do you promote the interests of Finnish unit? Is it a challenge also in the global structure of Microsoft, for example?
You need to find the stories, and I always do it like in a manner that first I look at the results where we are very good at, and then I build the storyline we needed or on top of it. For example, I take this security. We are excellent in security. We are on securing our infrastructure in the digital era. We are the best in the world. And then I add, everybody understands 1,300 kilometers of border with Russia. So they immediately, okay, yes, you need to do this something. And then we can go with our results. And then, so I think this is the beautiful thing that they understand in a bigger picture why Finland, because Finland is considered, we are known for certain things, certain advantages, but also we have this, for example, this border, it's a geopolitical fact and it's there. So everybody knows it, that we are close to this border or we are on the border. And then there are things that, okay, it just makes sense that you are excellent on the security. And then you need to just continue telling the story. So I think it's important that pick your things that you are really good at and then make sure that everybody knows those things. So if I look at Finland, we have 3 themes. So we have the security, first of all. The other one is the sustainability, because the fact is that the clean energy availability here is amazing, our grid is amazing, and our government is supportive. In many parts of the world, governments are not supportive of building any additional energy consumption. And the third element is skilling. So we are doing a lot. We are very talented. Finland, even though the PISA results has been a little bit challenging, Finland is overall known with the very good technical talents. Mentioned in the beginning, we are nearly doubling the amount of population working on ICT in Finland than the average in the Europe. So these are the things on top of which you build your story. But I think it's important, and we should be very proud. We do amazing things here. So I think also having the courage to enter the discussion and see if your value proposition is good enough. Can they just put it down? Or do they think that, amazing, I want to copy your thing. Send me how you're doing this or this. Yes. So I think that's my, just enter the discussions and evaluate if your value proposition is good, or if they have better, then change it.
Yeah. And
if you've got the winning story, keep it. If you don't have the winning story,
but
get a new one.
need to say that we are, for example, in our environment, there are amazing. We are part of a country cluster of 10 countries. So in certain areas we are very good at, like these 3 things. But then there are other countries doing better on the other fronts. So why not to compete with someone when UK has profiled themselves already in the AI era, for example, heavily? Yes, but nevertheless, I think it's important. Pick the battles.
So it's kind of like corporate entrepreneurship in a way.
In a way, yes.
Yeah. You choose something and then you focus on that internally, promoting the interest of the unit.
Exactly, and it's important that you test it, your value proposition, because it can take you places and far. For example, this security in Finland is, we are top notch in the globe.
Yeah, there's a lot of fantastically positive messages there. I mean...
Still one question.
Yeah, go for it.
Have you seen Bill Gates live?
Only Satya.
Oh, okay.
Only. Satya, yes.
Why do you say only?
Yeah, exactly. That was I regret that only. I'm so sorry. I'm very privileged of seeing Satya. Yes, meeting him.
There's
in
actually
person.
a lot of, like we also teach cases, like mini cases about Microsoft and Satya's or Nadella's leadership style. What's his secret?
He's so authentic.
authentic.
And because of he had this, his son was having certain limitations. I think he is very genuine how he builds the story, empowering every organization and planet on Earth to achieve more. I think we have a brilliant vision and mission as a company, but he's really genuine on what he's doing. I think that is it.
And that the journey for Microsoft has been also culturally really stark. I mean, I remember 5-6 years ago working with Microsoft consultants who were cannibalistically competitive. Like they would undermine each other in front of shop and all the rest of it. And I know Microsoft went through a very big cultural change to focus on how you, I think, support each other and help each other.
Exactly. And I think we are calling it, we are moving from, or we have been moving from know-it-all culture to the learn-it-all culture. So it's okay that you don't need to be always the one who knows everything. You are the one who actually wants to learn everything. World keep on changing, so you need to change too. And I love it. And the other thing is that in the past 10 years, it's good to acknowledge that we have done amazing cloud transformation as a company. We used to be desktop, laptop company on-prem. And now we have done our journey to the cloud in 10 years' time. So, and now accelerated by the AI. So it has been quite the amazing journey, I need to say. And the beautiful thing is that Satya has been within the company over 30 years. So he just stood it from the ground and then took it to the next level. So I also admire his capability to learn it all the time. Cool.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I have been just following his what he did when he joined the company. When I met with Microsoft HR in 2014, 15,
16.
yeah, 15, 16 in New York. And I remember we were talking about Microsoft's values and Nokia's values at that time in that room on the top floor of a skyscraper. And I remember them saying that values. Oh, if we have the narrative is Bill Gates in the garage, sort of a rysyistä ruusuihin type of story, right? We build our, that was the starting point, and now this is where we are. But there was no further, there was nothing future-oriented. It was, that was the story. Sort of a historical story, which they were very proud of for a reason.
And I think our purpose, it used to be laptop on every desk. That was it in the former times.
Yeah.
And now it's empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. So you can hear from the purpose itself that it's evolving. It's the Satya time is the latter one. But we used to have another purposes.
Yeah, we're not here to equip people, we're here to help people.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So is Nadella's position would be your next one? Aiming for?
Absolutely, yes.
I suppose we have to. Yeah. What is
Few
your next?
little points, but then there. Yes.
Yeah. Well, this has been just fantastic. It's been really educational. Thank you very much, Mervi, for giving us your time. If you had a piece of advice for a young leader today, what would you advise?
2 things, maybe 3 things. But remember that crazy dream. You need to always start with that one. But the other thing is that you need to say it out and loud. So whatever you want or think you are going, don't always have to be so precise, but tell the others so people can actually support you on your journey. And then lastly, build those networks. For Finnish humble people, it's nicer to be home alone and look at your screen. But nevertheless, go out there every now and then, build the networks, because we all need those sponsors. I need to say that all the cool positions, at least to me, they are usually coming through the sponsors. People who believe in me, they think that I can add value on something, then they offer me cool positions. So I think this is it. So also remember, go out from the home every now and then and meet people.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I've never thought about that before, but at the top level of leadership, what happens normally is there is either a problem to solve or an opportunity to win. And the first question investors have or groups of leaders has is, okay, who do we know that can win this one? And
Exactly.
that's it. There's not a
There you want your name to pop up.
Exactly,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Okay, Mervi, thank you. This has been mind-blowing. It's been really good.
Thank you.
I really
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it.
Thank
Guys,
you, Mervi. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that was Mervi Airaksinen, Managing Director for Microsoft Finland. She gave us a lot of really great insights on being a leader in a global company and a leader in difficult times. How do you guys feel? What stood out for you, Annalie?
Yeah, I mean, she was anything but ordinary.
Very true. Very true.
She was very open, and that way it was really fun to discuss with her. She was open to tell also about talk about those difficult things she experienced when she stepped into her first managing director role. Those things that formed her, those things you cannot get ready for. You just need to go through them once you are there. And I think those were the things that stood out for me. She also mentioned that she had a mentor or someone she talked to. So that seems to be a recurring theme throughout these discussions.
Yeah.
It's good that there is someone you can bounce ideas with or show your vulnerability to. Yeah, there was a lot, but this stood out.
Alexei?
Well, that was interesting for sure, to say the least. Well, I think maybe for me, one thing that kind of stood out was this. It's about making tough decisions, but also you need to be tough yourself, because in the situation where she ended up being on maternity leave and about to make this huge transformation in a corporation, I think many people would just say, okay, I'm not ready to do this. They will not take the challenge. But she did, and then after a few years, it was a big success. So I think that's something that don't be afraid to take this kind of challenging tasks, even when situation is not maybe the best one, right? So that's something that, well, definitely I'll remember, and I need to apply more of that in my own life, I think. Then this is another kind of fun thing was this big dreams. So big that, others laugh at you in the beginning, but I think it's always interesting who laughs the last one, right?
Yeah.
So that's also something I think a lot of people in general, I think, are missing in life. We're just too afraid to dream big, really, and then so that, but it's good to make others laugh. So that's a good thing. Yeah, and then this, because I have studied some multinational corporations. I think her take on this corporate entrepreneurship is quite interesting. How do you promote? Well, Finland is a small place in the global kind of structure of Microsoft. I mean, how do you promote the interests of like Finnish unit? And I think she had quite nice ideas about kind of how you strategize in this context, building on your strength. And I think it was quite interesting that many corporations actually in Finland don't do it that well.
Yeah, I agree. And I think as well, when I was listening to her take the story from your strengths, the way she described Finland, it kind of like it's that Finland didn't just have a temporary competitive advantage. It was like these are the innate skills that we have in this place, which is the kind of sales pitch that lasts, decades. So I thought that was really compelling. It was great to see somebody so vocally positive about Finland. Like that's really refreshing. Like I feel less crazy because I also see like a lot of really good stuff in Finland. And
so you don't have to be foreign to be positive about Finland, right?
Exactly. We found one Finn with a good positive outlook. The other thing that I think is funny, she reminds me a lot of Asko, our first interview.
Okay.
Like if you think about how Asko talked about the transformation they went through at Elisa, the fact he didn't really want or plan to be a leader, he just became it. And then also just the way, Asko had that sort of wise pragmatism of just kind of keep going and focusing on a little bit at a time, all the rest of it. I had that same So for some reason, when she was talking, I was thinking that it sounded very similar to how Asko was talking.
I think she said something similar to Asko as well, that once you go through a very difficult change, you know that you don't want to end up there again.
That's it.
And that's sort of the very profound foundation of everything you do. Good point.
It was it was a real commitment to learning from the darkest or the toughest time. So something to think about. I'm sure she'll be an absolute star.
So. One day she'll meet Bill Gates.
We all will, in our own way. Okay. And with that, then I have to say, guys, Alex and Anneli, thank you very much. It's been another inspiring session.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, as always, to Bella behind the mic and behind the camera. Thank you to all of you who have listened. If you want to get in touch with the show, the website is the-flt.com, and you can reach us at contact@theflt.com with a hyphen in the middle. And also follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn and anywhere else where you can find us online. Till next time.